Okay, welcome to our New York Giants Preservation Society meeting for tonight, February 5th, 2026, with Ken Davidoff and Harley Rotbart. Ken and Harley have a brand new book, 100 Lessons from the Dugout. I mean, this book is so freaking hot that it ruined my print. It's released today, so we have something special here tonight. Before we turn to those two gentlemen, I'm sorry my ink ran out, Ken. That's just one of the things that go wrong here. Before we speak and allow Ken and Harley to talk about their book, just a few housewarming stuff. Steve Rothschild, happy 95th birthday the other day. Congratulations. You don't look a day over 79. By the way, you guys could all unmute as long as you don't talk. It's for the people who are coming in that ruin everything. Um, in the next week or so, you will get a comprehensive list of all of our guest speakers from now until middle of September. So look for that. Some of you responded to Seth Tannenbaum. He is a professor in Connecticut. I don't know if you realize this, maybe it wasn't clear. You have got to go to the college to speak.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so unless he changes and you want to, mail in something anyway, but that was his objective. Um, and I think that's it. So I'd like to reintroduce Ken is, a friend and a member of the group, and this book looks like a great book. It's not necessarily a New York Giant book, but Ken is Ken, and I would like him to speak with Harley about his book. So let's all welcome both of them to the New York Giants Preservation Society. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gary. It's great to be back. It's been a few years, and I love Gary and I love this group and everything it represents. I'm sure I shared this in the past, but my late father, Steve, grew up in Brooklyn, but was a Giants fan because of a certain player who I think you probably guess who that is. But I always just carried that affection. And my dad actually got to see Willie speak one of those years after the championship, Gary. You invited us to that event.
Yeah, 2013 after the
Yeah,
2012
right. And
Giants
that
trophy
was very
World
meaningful.
Champ.
So the last time I remember I joined one of your calls right after Willie died, and I shared that story. But the last time I was your featured speaker, I was still working full time covering Major League Baseball, and I think I might have already issued notice when I spoke to you guys, but I couldn't reveal the secret at that juncture. But now I've been out of full-time coverage for nearly 4 years. I got burned out, and I was very blessed to have met my co-author, Harley Rotbart, is the proper pronunciation. I just learned that
Sorry.
last week myself. And Gary, also, you cut us one lesson short. It's 101 lessons, not 100.
Did I say 100? I'm
You
sorry,
did. It's quite
101
all right.
lessons.
Quite all right. So Harley, I will let Harley speak, but Harley and I have the same literary agent, Lisa Leshny. She paired us up, and it's really just been a dream pairing because this book, as Gary said, not only is it not about the New York Giants baseball team, it's not about Major League Baseball per se, even though that was my area of coverage for about 30 years, and I still do a little writing about MLB. This is about the joys of the game and the lessons that can be learned from baseball as well as softball by players of all ages. We wrote it for a young adult audience, but I've been very pleased with how folks of all ages have enjoyed this book. Maybe even Steve Rothschild can enjoy this book at a young 95. So I'm going to yield the floor to Harley for a moment. Harley, take it easy on Harley. He's not a New Yorker. He's from Colorado. So if you got any, barbs, direct them at me, not Harley.
Well, I was about to apologize for that because I was privileged to join a few minutes before we officially started recording, and I realized I'm the only person who will speak tonight without a New York accent, and I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by the room, but I'm grateful to you all for having me, and I'm very grateful to Ken for being the New York baseball insider that he is, and baseball in general insider that he is. He's taught me a lot. It's been a joy working together to put this book out. And what we're hoping is that people will see the book, learn about the book, and then refer the book to kids who are playing, to their parents, to their coaches, for the purpose of life benefit. That is, every play, every pitch, every hit, every slide on a baseball diamond has a lesson to be learned for the rest of kids' lives, in their families, at school, with their friends. And so Ken really has helped me bring this message out, and it's been a joy to work together. And I will do my best to not sound too Colorado for the rest of the program.
I should add that Harley is, not a sports writer. He is a retired pediatrician, spent his life, professional life, serving young people and their parents, and is also an accomplished parenting expert who has written multiple books on parenting and has done his share of media. So he might be from Colorado, but he's not a hick.
Oh, that's a relief. Good, because most people from Colorado are hicks, right? Good. Okay. Now you've served it up.
What else can we do, Gary? What do you want us to do?
Why don't you tell us about the book as far as what these lessons are? Give us examples, because
Sure.
the audience, because this book just got released today, none of them could have read it yet. So this is, quite an accomplishment to have you guys on today, the day the book is released.
Yeah, so I'll defer to Harley. I want to make clear, like I make clear in all the interviews I've been doing, like I am so fortunate and paired up with Harley because he had something ready to go, and then he was generous enough to let me offer my input. But Harley, why don't you take it away and offer the basic premise and maybe give an example or two?
Sure. So there are 101 vignettes about baseball and softball in the book. Every single play that I could think of, and I sat years ago with my kids in front of many games, and they said, we should write about that, or you should write about this. But some of the examples are a pop fly, where kids learn the importance of taking responsibility, of letting their voice be heard so that there isn't a crash. But that applies to the rest of their lives. When they volunteer to do something at school, or they're asked to take charge of something, they take charge. That's taking responsibility. Tagging up is the ultimate of impulse control. Before you overreact to something that has angered you or upset you, tag up. Pause. Think about it for a minute. The bunt is a wonderful way to shorten your swing and focus on finding the ball, because life has a lot of distractions. Kids today are social media addicted, are screen addicted, and it's sometimes hard for them to put it all in perspective and to get done what they have to get done in school and get done what they have to get done at home. So when there's too much piling up, shorten your swing. Say no to a few things that you can say no to. Do a little bit less in the way of volunteering, because you have to do what you have to do, and a bunt helps you see the ball. Shortening up, meaning cutting out some of the excess, cutting out some of the activities that you really can do without in order to get the important things done. I've heard Ken talk about his love of the chapter on fielder's choice, where things come up all the time in your life, homework assignments, tests, where you have to prioritize. And fielder's choice teaches you how to prioritize. But I'll tell you, during the October World Series, my favorite chapter emerged. It hadn't been before, but it emerged. And the favorite chapter is chapter 92, which is cleaning up your mess today so that it doesn't linger until tomorrow. And that in real life, that applies to, finishing today's homework, to cleaning up your room, to not leaving a mess. But during World Series game number 2, Yoshi Yamamoto was filmed, unbeknownst to him, by a single journalist cleaning up the dugout after he pitched a complete game for the Dodgers in the World Series. He was caught on film cleaning up the dugout. The dugout was empty of players. Everybody else had gone back to the clubhouse except Yoshi, who wouldn't leave the dugout a mess. And that's what we're trying to teach kids. Clean up today so you don't have to face your messes tomorrow. So those are just a few examples.
Can also be related to a relief pitcher coming into a particular game and lots of runners on, and he has to clean up somebody else's mess.
Exactly right. And it's not all on him, even though the weight of the game may feel like it's on him. Somebody else created the mess. You do your best, but then when you walk off the field, succeeding or failing, you have to realize that you tried your hardest and you were only there because your coaches thought you were the right person for that moment. And otherwise, you wouldn't have been there. And if it doesn't work out, those runners were somebody else's.
So these are life lessons for adults. That being said, do you gentlemen think about maybe going into schools to talk to young kids about this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really, the book is written and it's classified on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and in bookstores. It's classified as young adult nonfiction. It's written for kids between the ages of 10 and 18. And the vernacular, one of the toughest things that Ken and I had to do was to tone down the vernacular to that of a kid in that age range, so that we had to take out the intimidating words and make sure it was readable on their own for 10 to 18-year-olds. But our goal is that their parents are there with them, that their coaches buy into the concept and share it with the other team members. So it's really a book for young adults, written for young adults, and schools, Gary, would be a great venue. And so I've actually spent the past week, in anticipation of the book's release, contacting hundreds of Little League directors, Little League coaches, school gym teachers, and athletic program directors to tell them about this book. And so we're doing it at the grassroots level, as well as Ken's amazing ability to get media attention at the higher levels.
And I retired too early. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I've spoke at I went to a Little League event the other day, and I'm speaking at Little League and to schools. And for any of you, if you have grandkids or any relatives in schools, like we're open for business.
So one of my favorite plays in a baseball game is, of course, the double play. So give me your lesson with the double play.
And that's an important one. And it's obviously one of the 101 chapters. And in Little League, which is where most of these kids are playing, and even in high school, the traditional double play is tough because it's rarely turned, as opposed to major leagues or professional baseball. A double play is rarely turned, but it's often tried. And it's the bird in the bush concept that we're trying to get across with that chapter. And that is that you can't always, just because it's there, just because it's tempting, just because it would make you feel great and make the team do well, oftentimes the double play ends up in errors because you overthrow the ball, you rush your throw, or you're looking for the next base to throw to, and the ball gets between your legs. And so the double play is a double hazard because at least at the level of kids playing ball, it can be a distraction trying to get it. So the advice there is, when you're faced in your life with too much to do, but the opportunity to try it all, make sure that what you try is the one that you are most likely to succeed, that you are most likely to get the out, rather than trying to get both outs and sometimes messing up the whole play.
And could you hold the book up again? Where could the audience get the book? The best way to get the book.
I included the Amazon link in the chat here. It's also available at the Bloomsbury, that's our publisher, the Bloomsbury website, and it's available publicly today. Harley, have you gotten any information about specific stores? Someone asked about Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, it's supposed to be available at all Barnes and Noble stores.
Oh, great. Okay.
But if it's not on the shelf, because it's published by a like a top-notch first-tier publisher. By the way, Bloomsbury, the publisher, is the publisher of the Harry Potter books. So this is big league, to overuse the term. This is a big league publisher and a big league release of a book. So it should be available in bookstores. If it's not, they can order it for you immediately at any bookstore that you walk into. And it's on the Amazon site and on the Barnes and Noble site. And if you just search on either of those sites for Davidoff or for Lessons from the Dugout, you'll find it.
Gary, I know you're a big Harry Potter guy, except you wish your name was Gary Potter.
Gentlemen, if somebody was to purchase the book and they saw you were signing somewhere, they could bring the book there and get it signed in New York, or if they're in Colorado or wherever the case may be.
Yeah. Of course. And I think, Harley, I think you'll back me on this. Like, if you all want to, get both of our autographs, which is going to be a pretty rare commodity, I think. If you send it to, I'm happy to send my address, and then I can ship it to Harley, and we can expedite that if that interests you.
Wonderful. And Harley, unbeknownst to you, we have members from 30 different states. They're all not from New York here tonight. We got Alaska, California, Arizona. So a lot of people might sound funny to you tonight, okay? With that being said, Eric Romo, you are up. You're muted, Eric.
Yep, let's not forget here. Hey, this is wonderful. I love this idea, 101 lessons. This is fantastic. One thing I want to know, did you include the sacrifice in one of these chapters, whether it's a sacrifice fly, whatever it may be, advancing a runner, or scoring a run without getting a hit? I'd be interested to see how you guys, if you did include the sacrifice, where is that in as far as the life lesson is concerned?
Well, of course, that's actually probably the most translatable by name to any life lesson, because as soon as you say sacrifice, you understand what that life lesson is going to be. And the chapter on sacrifice, not only a chapter on sacrifice, but a chapter on the suicide squeeze, because that's when the suicide squeeze is when you cannot afford to not get the bunt down. You have to get the bunt down, because otherwise you've doomed your runner. And so there are times in life when sacrificing for others is the most honorable, memorable, and moral thing that you can do. And there are numerous examples of sacrificing for others that all of us know, but that are listed in the book. But it's a suicide squeeze sacrifice. That's the sacrifice where it has to work. You have to do it. There's no option. You don't have to wait for a strike to bunt that pitch. That's a pitch that you have to bunt regardless of where it is, because otherwise your runner's in trouble. And in life, there are situations where you have to make contact. And if you don't, your friend, your family member, your sibling is in trouble.
Fantastic.
Eric, thank you so much. The birthday boy, you're up.
Yeah, throw some names at you, Ken. Does the name Stan Friedman ring a bell?
No.
He wrote a book like this. He's a little younger than me. He's about 91. No, I'm just kidding. He's in his probably early to middle 70s. He wrote a book like this a long time ago, Baseball Stories for Kids.
Huh.
That was the name of it. Anyway, he came from my old neighborhood. The other name, and Gary knows this guy well, is Phil Bildner. Does that name ring a bell?
Vaguely.
Okay, he was a teacher for a while in a Harlem school, and then he went into writing, and he wrote, God, you have any handy, Gary? I don't want to go outside and pick him up. Also, books for kids, based on Bobby Thompson's
turned like historic things.
Oh, wow.
Shot heard around the world.
Oh, I have that book. Yeah.
He wrote a bunch of them.
Yeah.
He was out here in Arizona, either my first or second year being here. He did a book signing at a Barnes and Noble. You guys are going to get into schools. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Like Gary said, unfortunately, we retired a long time ago. My school's not what it was. But you'll find one, and one will lead to another. And you know what, Gary? This book is not similar, but it's close to John Shea's book on Maze. It was 24 life stories. Ken, have you seen that book that John?
I read that book. Yeah, great book.
Yeah. Well, and I have your email. Obviously, I had the one from the Post. Okay. Well, good luck to you guys. This is
thank you,
terrific.
Steve. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Norman Coleman, you're up.
Sorry.
Now, Ken, did I hear you right? You said that you and Harley will come to my place and sign the book?
I already put my address in the chat. You can mail it to me. I'll sign it. I'll send it to Harley. He'll sign it. He'll send it back to you.
Okay, I have a serious question for you now.
Mhm.
I have a Russian neighbor. I took him to his first baseball game ever last September. He knows nothing about the game. He's an adult. In terms of what you have in your book and all, I assume you're describing each play or each situation so that it's understandable. Would this be
Yeah,
a good book for him to learn the game?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's it's not a purely instructional manual on baseball, but for sure writing it for a young audience, we definitely explain each play in detail.
That's
And
wonderful. I'm
and
going to get the book for him. Thank you.
the
Thank
way
you.
the way the book is organized is the play is at the top of each chapter, very brief vignette explaining it, and the book is broken down into 6 different sections, which include in the dugout, at the plate, on the mound, on the base paths, and so each chapter it starts out with a description of the event that we're then going to draw lessons from. But can I interject one story about an international visitor to one of our games? So your Russian neighbor made me think of this. I in my non-baseball, non-coaching life, I was a research physician, a doctor, and I had a visiting scientist from Denmark who came to work in my lab to learn some of the techniques that we were doing and to write a paper together. And so we took him out to his first ever baseball game. It was a little league game at one of the parks and with a short backstop. And we're sitting in the bleachers right behind the backstop. And there's a foul ball over the backstop. And everybody on the bleachers yells, "Heads up!" Which, of course, to a Dane who's never been to a baseball game, thinks that means you lift your head up. And the ball hit him square on the nose, broke his nose. There's blood everywhere on the bleachers. Welcome to American baseball, Lars Nilsson. Sorry about that.
Wow.
Good thing there was a doctor nearby.
Right?
That's right. He had a doctor with him. Yes.
I put pressure on it for him.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, thanks,
Norm.
guy. I'm looking forward to seeing your book.
Bill
Thank
Clink,
you.
you're up.
Thank you, Gary, Harley, and Ken. We get some unusual, but good. This is one of the more unusual books, but I had a kind of a suggestion, mild, and then two questions about scenarios you may be covering in the book. The suggestion, you talk about teachers. Had you ever thought about advertising in like the National Educational Association newsletter or magazine? There must be magazines that are geared, one, to teachers, and two, to coaches at a secondary level. Now, you'd have to research where they are, but I would suggest they probably don't have high advertising costs or rates. It's not like a major magazine. It might be a way to not only to sell it, but to say, hey, here's an idea that you could promulgate among your other teachers or whatever, and call us or write us for more information.
It's a terrific
you.
idea.
Yeah.
I actually have two PTA conferences scheduled for the next 3 months where I'll be speaking to teachers about parenting, but I'll be using the book to plug the book about how this book can apply to parenting also. So there's an in there, but I think we can be more organized and approach the organizations nationally. It's a great idea.
Now, here are two situations. I don't know how, I'm interested to know how you would have handled them if you addressed them. The intentional walk and catcher's interference.
Right. So the lesson there, and for both of them, the lesson there is that you shouldn't go up to the plate looking for the intentional walk or looking for a walk at all, because that's the easy way out. And the easy way out is not always the best way out. And so if you go up to the plate looking for a walk, take it if you get it, but don't expect it. And expect that they're going to throw strikes. And that's even true in the intentional walk, where my favorite Colorado Rocky of yore, Andres Galarraga, was being intentionally walked and swung at a pitch that was a little bit too close with runners on second and third and hit a 3-run home run. So you always have to be prepared intentionally or not intentionally. Don't expect a walk, but be ready to take advantage of it.
I'm going to leave you with a comment. In another life, many of us have been dragged into being umpires. Now, I know that Steve does this professionally, and obviously we have others. I was asked to do this in my daughter's league, and you talk about the intentional, about the walk. There was a player who was known, a young guy who was known, he did not want to hit. He was always looking for the walk. And, you know, I'm telling you, man, I think there were 3 pitches. The pitcher knew 3 pitches right down the middle. 1, 2, 3, strikeout. He turned to me and said, "Hey, ump, I've got a discount coupon for 2020 eye care if you need it." I turned to his manager and said, "He's out of here." And the manager says, "Get him out of here." So it was one of the great lines I ever heard.
Great story. Great story.
Thank you, Bill. Gentlemen, I got a question for you. Just a comment. On the weekend of July 24th to the 26th, Jeff Kent is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Did you guys think about, with all those kids there, renting out a table? There's going to be so many people there with their children. You set up a table. I think it's $100 from the town, Cooperstown. You set up a table. You guys could make a killing.
Interesting. We're waiting to hear back from the hall about the author series. You did that, right, Gary?
No, I did not.
Oh, you presented something up there, didn't you?
The symposium I presented, and Sabre Day up there.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so I'm waiting to hear back about the author series. I hadn't thought about getting a table. It's not a bad idea.
Because you got all the Hall of Fame, Steve, right? All the Hall of Famers are on the street.
Yeah.
And people hawking their books, and you got the advantage of, you're talking about what kids and adults. The book is for everyone. It's not just for adults.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Thank you.
Great thought.
Michael, you're up.
Hi, guys. Thank you for doing this. Just 3 things quickly. One, this is a book for parents also. When you go to those PTA meetings, this is the observation I had. Both, I still play softball on Sundays and, schoolyard. To me, there's always a lesson about, you ever notice somehow wherever we come from, we can figure out how to play ball with each other, how to set the rules. I think growing up in the schoolyard, I learned an awful lot about life, about communication, about fairness, and dealing with all kinds of different characters. And the other thing is about learning how to be a good winner. We always say about being a good loser. It's also about having some class when you win and how to deal with that. And one quick anecdote, talk about sort of listening to oneself. I pitch in a softball league, and I lost the championship game 1-0 on an error in extra innings. And I came home, and I'm kicking and throwing, and my wife said to me, "Stop it, this is just a game." And I said, "No, this is life. This is not a game. This is so much fun."
Was it your error?
No, it was in there. The right fielder came running in. The ball went right past him. The guy scores. I'm watching him round the bases, and I'm beside myself. I can't believe it. And I come home like a lunatic, and the next day it sort of made me laugh. But I remember thinking, no, this is not a game. This is life. And she just looked at me, thought, you guys are crazy. You guys. But, to me, I think, the schoolyard somehow is a great lesson in life in so many ways. And I think we take that with us. I love the book and I love the idea. To me, it's about playing and about being involved and about, really learning the ways. It's hard when you play. You lose, you cry. I mean, I've had the whole thing, as a player, as a coach, as a parent. But I think it's a great way to really learn about being in the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Mr. Dixie from Boston, you're up.
Thank you. Well, there are just games and there are championship games and extra innings. So there's a difference. I have two questions. One is about writing the book, and the other is about something that may be in the book. About writing the book. Since I'm a Sabre guy, I've seen 100 Zooms of people who are selling their books, but very, very seldom are there two people involved in this. So there are hundreds of decisions to be made, different choices to be made. Tell us about that. How smoothly did that go?
Ken, your turn.
From my standpoint, very smoothly, just because I think Harley and I just kind of, we hit it off. Like we didn't know each other at all. I mentioned Lisa, right? I've done so many interviews. Our common literary agent, Lisa Leshney, paired us up. And just from the start, like I was just delighted by Harley's different perspective. And yeah, we certainly disagreed on certain things, but like it was always so good natured. I mean, that's sincere. Like I never ended a Zoom call with Harley mad. I would end it laughing because like Harley was just so cheerful and I just really appreciated his perspective. And I think it was just a very respectful teaming, and even like the cover. Like we had some conversations about the cover, and Harley, can we reveal how we determined the cover?
Sure.
Yeah, we flipped a coin. We Harley Harley called me on FaceTime. It was Harley's coin, and he flipped it, and so we determined it fairly and squarely.
Yeah, this was a marriage made in heaven, and we really, I mean, it couldn't. We have such different approaches to the game of baseball, but we both and softball, but we both love the games of baseball and softball, and that love is what it's like. It's like any couple. That love is what bonded us and resulted in a book that we're both very proud of. So thank you for asking that.
Okay, and now about the book itself. Do you have any section or chapter or anything in it that might be related to situational hitting?
Yeah, so it's called The Counts. And The Counts describes what the advantages are and the disadvantages are from each player's perspective, the pitcher and the hitter, depending upon the counts and depending upon who's on base. And so you obviously, and the lesson in life is that life is all about context. And the context is what determines in baseball how you swing, if you swing, if you don't swing, if you have to bunt, if you don't have to bunt. But the context in life is something that people oftentimes ignore and look back with regrets. I wish I would have done this. I wish, if I only could have done this differently, but you couldn't because you made the decisions as you do on a baseball diamond. You make the decisions in context, and the context of your life has to be appreciated, has to be respected, because otherwise we all have regrets. Otherwise, in fact, I wrote a book called No Regrets Living. And the idea of that book is consider the context of the decisions before you regret what you did, because context matters.
Thank you.
Harley, I know you're a doctor, and I know it's 101 Lessons from the Dugout and Ken, you, of course, too. Is there any chapter about parents being ridiculous in the stands? toward the umpire, toward, yelling at kids, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's called blocking out the noise. And what we try and teach in the book is that there's so much noise on a baseball diamond that it parallels the noise in life. And when parents, other teammates, when there's chatter on the baseball field, you have to be able to realize that the game is right in front of you. It's not in the bleachers. It's not in the other team's dugout. The game's in front of you, and you have to block out that noise. And parents, I hope parents read that chapter because it's their noise oftentimes. I don't know. You guys have probably seen as many as I have, but the fights that parents get into with umpires or sometimes with kids on the baseball diamond, basketball court. It's a horrible thing, and parents are vicariously living through their kids, and the kids have to understand that they need to separate themselves from that vicarious craziness.
Thank you. Ed Freer, you're up.
It's very
Ed, talk
interesting.
louder. There you go.
Okay, I find this all very interesting because we're baseball fans. I just wanted to make you aware, and if I have a question, but also my business. I have a little league sign up coming in on the 21st. Quite a few kids signing up to play ball. I don't know if there's anything you could help there, but my question is, I'm not a big fan of instant replay, and obviously they don't have little league and instant replay. But they see it on TV, and you have arguments with umpires, as we were just relating to. Is there anything in that chapter when the call doesn't go your way, how you're supposed to react?
Yeah, there's a lot of dealing with adversity, and the adversity of the umpire's call that doesn't go your way, about the play that you wish you would have made, that you could have made, that you didn't make. But dealing with the adversity of the umpire's calls is like the situation that we give an example of is, for example, a parent's illness or a family divorce, where there are things that just happen in life sometimes that are not under your control. And the umpire's call is one of those things. It's one of those things that you do not have control over. And you just have to accept the fact that there are givens in life, that there are some things that, we can object, we can scream, we can kick, but oftentimes the umpire will not change the call. In fact, most times the umpire will not change the call. And when those things happen in the rest of your life with, an illness, an injury, family problems, family illness, those are things you don't have control over. And somehow you still have to play the next game.
That's great.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ed. Dave Littman, you're up.
Well, yeah, that was sort of a bit like what I was going to ask about what you do, what you learn from your manager running out and arguing with the umpire, which I'm curious about. But I also am curious to know what a no-hitter is supposed to teach you. So those are my two questions. What do you do when your manager, what do a kid learn when his or her manager goes out there and behaves like an ass in the argument, and what you learn from your team getting a no-hitter?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the no-hitter one is easier because it is so rare that we always have to do your best, and you have to shoot for perfection. But as Ken has pointed out in other interviews, perfection is probably the least emphasized in baseball of any sport, because we recognize, as Ken has pointed out, that a batting average of 300 is far from perfect, and an on-base percentage of 400 is far from perfect. So a no-hitter is great, but most games are far from perfect and are not no-hitters. And as far as the angry manager, the chapter on role models, which is also one of my favorites, teaches kids that they have to pick the role models carefully. And the manager who does that is not necessarily a good role model, nor are baseball players, Major League Baseball players, who spend their dugout time spitting. And spitting, there's a whole chapter on spitting in the book, because spitting is an illustration of what you do not want to role model, to have as a role model. And yet kids are, double bubble gumming their saliva so that they can spit like the big leaguers. Don't model yourself after those role models, including the screaming manager.
Wow, that's fascinating. These the spitting, you're talking about the ball players who spit tobacco.
Awful.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's spitting in football. They're not spitting in basketball. What is it about? It's all from the chewing tobacco stages, and even players now who don't chew tobacco are spitting. They're spitting gum, or they're spitting seeds, or they're spitting on national television. What are kids going to do from that?
It dates back to when baseball cards were made by tobacco companies in the early 1900s.
Right. And then bubblegum companies.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you, David. Mr. Sexton, you're up.
A great book, guys. This is fascinating. I'm really loving the hell out of this.
Mm-hmm.
As you get older and you observe younger people, you realize how important the character of element of desiring to hone a craft or hone a skill, persistence. When I walked in, you were talking about the double play. When I was in junior high school, I remember standing with a buddy of mine after a game at Yankee Stadium, which the Yankees lost. I was never a Yankee fan, but I remember they lost that one. And I remember Bobby Richardson and Tony Kubek. I mean, these guys were at the top of the food chain. They had, I guess, been a little slow on a double play, and there was a fielding coach or somebody out there who was making them do double plays over and over and over again after the game was over. And they were in dirty uniforms, and they just probably went through about 9 or 10 of them. And they had bat boys running the bases, and they kept it up and kept it up and kept it up. And this playing coach was screaming at them. I couldn't believe it. Bobby Richardson, Tony Kubek, for God's sakes. And finally, when they had done it to his satisfaction, he calmed down and they all left the field. But they were at that for about an hour and a half. Never seen anything like it. And so I look at people, and I sometimes in my older years, looking at younger practitioners of my profession, I say, my God, didn't these people ever try and hone this craft, this writing, this speaking? What attributes in this game would really teach a person the value of persistently working to hone a skill that you have?
Yeah. So, Ken.
Sorry for the long-windedness. I'm Irish.
No,
go ahead, Harley. Yeah.
There are several chapters on persistence, and as they apply, for example, to if you apply for a job and you don't get it, that you should reapply. If you apply to college, you don't get in the first try. Colleges respect people who come back and try again. And in baseball, there are many examples of that. There are plays where you know that you could have done better, and you do the practice. You go out and you do the practice, just as you would if you were trying out for a school play. You have to practice, and baseball practice is practice for life, and practice in life is what you have to do to persist. You have to persist in
being
order
a better parent, being a better spouse,
being a better anything. Yeah. It's like, what is it that how many hours? 10,000 hours or something? What is what's the
Malcolm Gladwell?
Gladwell. Yeah.
What's the
metric? The Beatles were never worth a damn until they had played like 10,000 hours of concerts in Hamburg, Germany.
Persistence. That's exactly right. Can I just say also that Bobby Richardson was a Denver Bear before he played for the Yankees, because the Denver Bears were the Yankees farm club, and Bobby Richardson played baseball in Denver. So that's
the Reverend Bobby Richardson.
Sorry?
The Reverend Bobby Richardson.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Absolutely. He was an ordained minister. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Well, he was always holy in my mind anyway.
You guys all hate Bobby Richardson, right? Did he make a big catch in a certain World Series?
Well, he did, but let's not go there, okay?
Leave that alone.
He held court many times, Steve, and in Cooperstown during the Hall of Fame weekend.
We do the church service
Preaching. So
in the street.
But they were so graceful, these two Yankee infields. There was like a ballet.
Yeah.
But it certainly didn't please their fielding coach, I will tell you.
Thank you, Frank. Don, you're up.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, guys. Sounds like a great book. Sorry for this shot at you, Harley, but maybe you could send copies to all the new Colorado Rockies this year and help them, because they're learning a lot of lessons out in Colorado these days. I'm sorry about that.
Oh my gosh.
Two quick questions. One is, I'm curious, especially since it's such a big issue with adolescents, what you have for bullying and not being picked on the team or something like that. The second question, and this is a plea because I'm guessing you don't have this play in the book, but give me some value of the runner on second base in extra innings in the major leagues. What's the lesson that you have for me about that play? I want you to think on your feet on that one. So those are my two questions.
Harley, you do the bowling. I'll do the Manfred Man.
Perfect. There's a chapter on bullying, and the chapter is what happens when other kids in the dugout are picking on you, or the other team is picking on you. And that is bullying in a somewhat more gentle and controlled environment, as opposed to bullying in real life, which can be deadly and a horrible thing. And the idea of bullying is to find someone who is a person of authority and to ask for help, not necessarily to rat on someone, but ask for help in how to deal with bullying. And there's one there's one quote in the book that Ken and I have talked about before that is, when you hear, hey, batter, batter, hey, batter, batter, swing, hey, batter, batter, hey, batter, batter, swing, what my pop psychology brain thinks is what the players who are chattering like that, bullying like that, are really saying, hey, I wish I was better. And most bullies are actually feel very inferior. They have inferiority complexes, and they do not have enough self-esteem to rely on their own abilities, so they have to demean others. And that happens on the baseball field, where chatter can be very dangerous. I mean, if there's a pop fly and everybody's yelling, drop it, drop it, drop it, miss it, it could hurt somebody. But bullying is dangerous, and that's how we try and address it. Ken.
Yes, the runner on second. So I remember when that came into play in 2020. I was still covering the game full time, and I was thrilled because it meant the game was going to end sooner. I get to go home sooner. So that the lesson we learned is sometimes it's just time to go home.
And maybe you could send a copy to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue about the bullying too. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody was going to go there. Somebody was going to go there.
Thanks, Don. Paul.
Oh, gentlemen, thank you so much. Your book sounds really terrific. I just had a question about equipment. Is there anything you say about safety equipment for kids is that a lesson that you bring out somehow?
It is actually. And the focus is not as much on safety as it is on the hot new item. That is, when the next precious metal baseball bat comes out, and everybody has to have one, but nobody can afford it except the one kid in the dugout. And the lesson there is that precious metal baseball bat, or the fancy fielder's glove that the first baseman is wearing, and everybody says, oh, that's a cool glove, in fact, may not improve the play. And if the bat does improve an already good hitter, it will improve him a little bit. It will improve modest players, not so much. And what counts is the batter. And in the case of the first baseman, for example, oftentimes the first baseman feels compelled to use a first baseman's glove, but he's much more competent and confident using his old fielder's mitt at first base. And there's nothing written that says, the fancy, more expensive, more specific equipment is necessarily better. And what matters is who's swinging and who's catching the ball, not what equipment that you're using. And so even though the hot stuff comes in, and that's true in real life, the chapter goes on to talk about PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 12 and PlayStation 15 and all the newest tech savvy things, the best cell phone that these kids are carrying around. Everybody needs the best equipment, but the best equipment doesn't necessarily mean better performance.
The reason I asked that question is because when I was playing Babe Ruth baseball, there were two situations where equipment made a huge difference. One, and this is an obvious one, a kid was catching and he didn't wear a cup, and he caught one where he shouldn't have. That's number one. Number two, my friend Dave was playing right field. He had a fielder's glove. He went to catch the ball broke right through the webbing, hit him in the head, and took off, and the guy got an inside the park home run. So two guys got hurt because they weren't paying attention to their equipment. Fairly obvious, but something that's necessary. Anyway.
Where did you play Babe Ruth ball? Can I ask?
Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah, all of our kids played Babe Ruth ball in Colorado. It's a great league.
Okay. Yep, fun.
Anybody else have a question who does not know how to use the yellow hand? I got one last question for you. Anything in the book about acting professionally? You know, even though these kids are not professionals, we all watch major leaguers, and it's, maybe I'm the, old man on the chair on the porch. The game is very different. It's a me game now, and people are always pointing to themselves. It's worse in football, but in baseball, every time the Dodger gets a hit, they're shaking their butts on the bases, and they're allowed to do that, I guess, because they've won 2 years in a row. But it really is, anything about that in the book, or
Ken? Yeah. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, what Harley, I'm looking at with the head trip, chapter 82. Do you have something else in mind?
No, that's good. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. So the head trip, controlling your emotions, controlling your temper. I think that addresses precisely that, Gary. Just, act professionally out there the same way you would in any other arena in your life.
And the other question is, sometimes the professionals don't act professionally. And I think what you're getting at, as far as the showmanship, the showboating,
exactly,
that professional athletes go through, and it's worse in basketball. There's no question. Pro basketball players are just like awful. And then a football player makes a tackle and he acts like he just won the Nobel Prize. He's jumping and cheering. It's crept into baseball, and professional baseball is also about me. And the only area that we talk about there is, again, spitting. And that is, professional ball players are not the best role models. Take the Willie Mays quality, but don't take the showboating that the rest of the guys are doing. Take the quality, pick the qualities of the players that you want to emulate, and pick them with an eye toward values.
Oh, terrific. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, just, guys, don't take that lightly. That Cooperstown idea was a terrific idea by Gary. And if it doesn't work out, at least make sure you get the book into their bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cooperstown,
Great
Thank
ideas.
you very much.
Great ideas.
All right, this time I'm going to say it right. 101 Lessons from the Dugout. Again, gentlemen, best way to get the book?
Amazon, Bloomsbury website, and Barnes & Noble near you. Is that anything else, Harley?
No, Amazon is, it's painful when we have local bookstores here to recommend Amazon, but Amazon is the easiest, quickest, fastest, most convenient way to get books. And it's on the website, and it's, as of today, it is the #1 book on Amazon in its category in youth sports. So this book has already hit #1, and we're very excited about it. So thank you guys.
You guys deserve the success.
There's a lot of educators in the group here. If you know any of your school districts interested in having these two fine gentlemen be guest speakers, contact them. That's all. But why don't we give it up for Ken and Harley? Thank you guys so much. Much success on the book. We can't thank you enough for sharing your time with us today. Next week, again, our meeting will be on Wednesday with Rick Laughlin. I don't think I told you what his book's about. It is about the Subway Series. It's not just the Mets and the Yankees. It's the Dodgers and the Giants and the Dodgers and the Yankees. So it's a brand new book as well. So we hope to see you next Wednesday. And I will hang around for a while if you want to talk some Giant baseball. But gentlemen, again, thank you. One more round of applause. Best of luck. Sell a lot of books. And we hope to see you guys again.
Thank Gary. Thanks for the platform. Thank to all of you. And I put if any of you want autographs, I put my address in the chat. Just let me know if it's coming my way.
Have a great night, everybody. And
Thanks,
I'm going to
guys.
shut off the recording. And whoever wants to hang around, feel free.
Thank you all. That was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.